Hey everybody, in today's video I want to talk to you about how much money do you lose when you do bad software estimation, and what is the best way to do estimation so that it saves you lots of money. Every client and every product owner, any business owner that builds software wants to know when the features that he wants to be built are going to be done, right? You need to know the roadmap. You want to know when something is going to be released so that you can plan your marketing campaign, so that you can talk to your customers, so you can plan your revenue. And everything else about business lies on knowing exactly where you're going to be releasing certain features. Now, the biggest cost for a software development team is staff. And there are a couple of reasons mainly that increase the cost of the development team. One of them is productivity. It has to do with the level of the skill set of your developers, with the communication skills, with how proactive they are, with how easy they work with each other, with how fast they understand development features, how fast they understand what needs to get done, and things of that sort. Knowing how to work remote, for example. The other thing that really affects the cost of a team is how much wasted time, how much wasted effort actually is. Because the more time they spend working on a feature, the more money you're going to have to pay them basically for that feature. So you want to make sure that they're building only what has to be built. It's very clear for them, and they just sit down and they complete it, right? And it's really clear for them what to do. You don't want to waste money. A startup especially doesn't want to waste money. You're trying to save as much as possible, making the most out of every money that you put in your company. So once you have fixed productivity, and I had plenty of videos about how to address the productivity of the team, the one thing that really remains are the details. And like I said, the devil is in the details, because it can really kill and eat up your budget if you don't provide your developers with exactly what they need and it's not clear for them what they need to build. So you have to make it easy for your developers. The easier it is for your developers, the less money you're going to have to pay per the features that are being developed. And like anybody who has made your life easier by removing frustration, in the same way, you can make your developers feel loved by doing what they really need and make their life easier. So what does this have to do with estimation? Well, there are two types of estimation that are popular. The estimation in hours, where the developers are estimating the time required to complete a specific feature, and it's very, very specific to that developers. Developers have different skill set. One developer can build a feature in 8 hours, and a different developer can build it in 2 days, because one is junior, one is senior, and that's why estimations vary a lot. And at a point, you can find that you estimated a feature to be completed by a developer, and that developer is no longer available, and then you have to get a different developer. And I'm not talking about the scope, the details of the feature in itself, and I'm just talking about their level of skill in order to develop that, or the knowledge about the technical details over there. So estimation in hours focused on the time needed to develop a feature, and is very custom to that developer. Now, the Storypoints estimation, on the other hand, it's an estimation of the size of how big a feature is. And it has to do a lot with the scope. It's very fixed, and it has to do only with the scope. What is part of that feature in itself? What button need to be done? What action need to happen over there? So it doesn't have to do at all with the developer's ability of developing in itself. And if he knows how to do one thing or a different thing, if he's a junior or a senior, is just about the feature in itself, how complicated it is, no matter if you're junior or senior. It's just about the size, like these t-shirts over here. As a feature is bigger and bigger, the distance between the estimation gets bigger and bigger as well, because the ambiguity, because the details that are needed, because the risks that happen, all the little details are harder to grasp the more a feature is bigger. That's why the estimation is not like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 story points, but it's like Fibonacci 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, where the last number is the sum of the previous two numbers, and basically the gap between the number is larger. Now, another story point estimation is the powers of 2. And kind of the same way the gap gets bigger and bigger over there. It's kind of the same principle anyway. But if it's not time, what is it? How do you know how big it is? Well, the key there is to define what is the smallest task, what is the smallest feature that is to be developed, and give it the value 1. And from that point onward, you're going to think about, okay, so what's the next bigger feature bigger than this? Well, give that a 2. And then what's something even bigger than that? And you give that a 3, and so on and so forth. Now, usually the estimation that are being used by developer teams for stories in Storypoints are between 1 and 8. If it's bigger than that, it usually means that it can be broken down into features that are, again, between 1 and 8. I know it takes a little bit of time to get used to this, but philosophically, it's kind of easy. It's just the size. What's bigger than the other one? And let's say if you know that you have 5 numbers over there, you juggle around with the things, you put them in the order, and you just give numbers from 1 to 5, basically. And then you identify a pattern. And any other features that shows up, you're going to say, well, it's way more similar with this. Well, it means that it's the same value with that. And there you go. It's way easier to do estimations in this way because they're just a few numbers that you're getting used to use all the time. And if it's way bigger, you just break it down. Now, both time estimation and Storypoints estimation are normally to be done by the development team together. The development team is being read to or reads the requirements, the details of that feature, and then they say, okay, this should take this much time, or this is this many story points. But in the case of time estimation, the developers vary in their skill set. For one developer, it takes longer, and for a different developer, it can take less. So that's why most times is the lead developer that actually is estimating, and he's trying to figure out kind of the developers from the team how long it will take to them. And if one day a developer is missing and somebody else is doing it, it might take longer for that person. So that's why it's kind of difficult to estimate, and it's just fixed on the developer. So it's more suitable when the same developers that are estimating are the ones that are going to be developing, and that's kind of hard for long projects. Hence, time estimations are more suitable for smaller projects with a pretty fixed team. Now, how does Storypoints estimation save you money? Well, for one, it's lower effort for the developers to estimate in Storypoints. It's just a few numbers that they need to assign, and yes, it takes them a little while to get used to assigning the right sizes to the features, but once they know it, they can go for years with exactly the same few numbers. Now, time estimations on the other side, it's a little harder to estimate because they do have to estimate in a way and quantify the complexity and the size anyway for it, and then it has to give it a value in time, which has a lot of other things that can affect it. Skill set, knowledge, and specific technical skills and things of that sort. Like I've said earlier, Storypoint estimation is way more suitable for longer term projects. Being very easy to estimate and really fast to estimate. At a point, after a few sprints, the project manager can run a report and see, well, this is kind of how many story points we do overall for our development team, which is like 5 developers, kind of like for one full developer would do this many story points. And from there, the project manager can make all these reports where he can estimate even to the point where he says, well, one developer that works 8 hours a day usually does, in average, this many story points in a sprint. And it's way easier for him to estimate long-term how many story points are going to be done for a feature that maybe initially is estimated just ballpark. So it's way faster estimation. Now, that doesn't mean that you should always match the story points and translate it into time when you do the estimation. No way. When the estimation is done, time should not even be mentioned. But when you run the reports for you to see how many story points can be done within a unit of time with a specific team size, it's completely okay and recommended actually to translate story points and to see an average how many hours were spent per story points, and then extrapolate and see based on the velocity of the team, how much time it takes to deliver a certain number of story points. Again, it's more of a reporting tool. It's just a reporting tool and projection tool rather than an estimation for a specific feature. And this is one of the biggest mistakes that developers are doing, or not the developers, but actually the management teams, the development managers that are driving developers to make all these conversions, and they're not good. When you see someone trying to say, so it's about 3 story points, so it's about 8 hours, just don't listen to them, find someone else, or just call me. Now, short term, like I said, when you have a very short project, your developers didn't even have the chance to get used to estimating in story points and assign the same value to a feature of a specific size. So to a very short project, maybe to a team that is just working together for a short period of time, maybe it can change that the composition of that team is way easier, way better to do it in hours, especially when you do time and material with a specific client, but not for products, not for long-term products, like I said. Another huge benefit of story points estimation is that it helps developers focus on scope. It helps them focus on clarity because they have to estimate it exactly what's inside that story. So by default, their mindset is actually being focused on understanding the scope very well. And this helps the entire team. Now, one more tip here. If you estimate in story points, actually, even a product manager or a project manager or a non-technical person can become a person that can estimate in story points features. Now, I'm not going to go into more details right now, but they're not estimating the complexity of the technicalities of it, but more about the functionality itself, and that matters the most. And in the context of how much you've seen in story points that other features are being built, and because the underlying technology is the same, even if you understand only functional and you can compare the complexity at the functional level, actually it can get normalized and aligned, and you would be able to estimate in story points yourself, a non-technical person. And I've been doing these estimations and they're pretty damn accurate now. And I'm not a developer. Now I have a challenge and a question that I want to throw you out there. In your experience, have you seen many times developers complaining about the development of a feature being hard? Or rather, the reason for which they didn't develop within the estimation was the fact that it wasn't clear enough, and actually it proved to be something else that needed to be done, a different functionality that needed to be built rather than what they thought in the beginning. I've rarely seen developers complaining about the fact that it turned out to be harder for them. In 99 cases, developers are complaining about the fact that it was different than they expected what needs to be built, not how to build it. And that's again why story point estimation really helps and can save you a lot of money over there, because you're not going to waste all that development. It's going to be way easier to get clarification when you're focused on scope, because that's a prerequisite, hard prerequisite for you to estimate in story points. So they only complain about things being unclear. Now, in all my videos, I constantly talk about the fact that you need to have happy developers. And I care about developers. I love working with developers. You know why? Because they're really passionate about what they're doing. And if you make their life easy, if you make them happy by giving them what they need, then your company is going to be really profitable. What you have to do is just take those things that you can do, that someone that is not a developer can do, and let them do only what they are supposed to be doing. If you're able to run reports for you to run certain projection on when a feature can be released, and this is the case of when you estimate in story points, then make them easy. Make it easy for them to estimate and let them estimate in story points rather than stressing them all the time. Okay, it's going to take 8 hours, it's going to take a day, it's going to take 3 days. What's it going to do? Well, run some reports, let them easily estimate in story points, and you're going to calculate exactly when it should come into place, a specific feature or a release. I mean, you're not going to get really into this position for people to throw money at you, but you're going to save a lot of money. Now, if you need help implementing any of these things, if you need help understanding which estimation method is better for you, maybe you have a custom business model over there, and maybe it's not so easy. Actually, I have personally transitioned agencies from estimating in hours to estimating into story points, especially for companies that had big, longer-term projects. And we had a combination over there of pre-sales with and discovery phases, and then with the actual development phase. But anyway, it's doable. So if you have questions about how it maps the estimation to your specific business model, or how to run estimation sessions properly so that you leverage all the developers' variety over there and make sure that they get aligned and they get on the same page. Or if you want to know about the proper tools that can help you a lot on running estimations and tracking proper estimations and the accuracy over time of your estimations. If you want to know about how to run velocity reports so that you can plan and you can estimate longer term roadmap based features, please feel free to book a call. You're going to see a link under this video. If you need help with any of these things, just click the link below, book a call, and we're going to jump on a call. We're going to take a look at your business, and we're going to tell you if we can help you and how that can look like. Book a call. Go change lives.